On this episode of the Veteran Business Community Podcast, I'm talking with Aaron Drew from Imperium Engineering. Now, the first part of it, we talk about what it's like to be part of a warfighting Navy ship, one of the Australian guided missile frigates, and what it's like to literally be the guy who presses the button to fire off the Harpoon missiles. Then we switch into Imperium Engineering. What I love about this is the infusion between the construction side of engineering, the design side, but also the software, and a world-leading business that is really driving capability for both the mining, gas and oil industry. Super clever dude, amazing products, serial entrepreneur, a really great episode of the Veteran Business Community Podcast coming up. Welcome to another episode of the Veteran Business Community Podcast. I'm Pete Liston, and today I'm chatting with Aaron Drew from Imperium Engineering. G'day, Aaron. How are you?
Yeah, good, Pete. How you going?
Mate, I'm well. Tell us, whereabouts in the world are you dialing in from today?
Perth, WA. It's a nice 33 degrees.
Mate, cracking day. Nothing like an Aussie summer, mate. Absolutely cracking.
We get the best ones over here.
Well, mate, I just always love to kick this little show off by asking, whereabouts in this beautiful world did you grow up, and what was it like?
I grew up in South Australia, so in Christie's Beach, Port Noarlunga area. I spent a lot of time at both of those beaches. On the reef at Port Noarlunga was pretty good. Used to have to walk a fair distance to get there, but it was still a lot of fun.
And you're a Navy guy. When did you join the Navy? What was it? What inclined you to take that step?
I had an interesting start to my military career, and the reason for joining is I didn't do so well in Year 12 when I should have.
Yep.
Look, I like to think I'm not, academically I'm not stupid, but perhaps when I was young I was a little bit dumber than I thought. I ended up making the decision to join the Navy as opposed to going other routes. To be honest with you, I think it was the best thing. It really was. It's turned out to be pretty defining in my life, obviously.
Like at that age too I was sort of tinkering around with joining the military straight after high school, but I wasn't really mature enough, to be honest. I was barely able to look after myself. But when I, see the, young men and women today, I was 16 or 17, and I sort of reflect on myself, I'm like, man, I should have just got in and would have helped grown up for me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there was one lad in my intake, because I was, I think, the second last intake of apprentices that went through Narimba, and I won't mention his name, but he had the exact same birth date as me, just 2 years younger.
Yeah, even younger.
So what, 15? Yeah, proper. Yeah,
right. Jeez.
He was a baby.
So what's it? Mate, again, I apologise to everyone every week about my ignorance of the other services, but is it called a rating when you join up? Like a private or something?
Yeah, so you get a category. Like I was ETS, so electrical technical systems, whether it was ETP, which is electrical technical power,
Yep.
W, which is weapons, C was comms, and S was systems. So the systems designation was essentially, because I was a missile and gun fire control operator and maintainer.
Okay, yep.
So the systems part of it is you're bringing all the systems together that all the other ET branches have, and the fire control system clearly talks to everything. So
Yes.
we've got to tell the weapons where to point, when to actually trigger the ammunition or the missile or whatever it be. And we also take inputs from all the long-range air search radars, from the ESM, all of it, gyros and all that stuff. All of that comes into the fire control system through a bunch of different avenues, so that's. There was not that many people who enjoyed the fire control system branch in the Navy. We were certainly. When I got to the 8-year mark, there was it's a funny thing, they offered us a retention bonus, and I got a little bit pissed off with them because as soon as I told my wife that we were going to get a retention bonus, I had my discharge in at the time, I knew I was going to be staying.
Yeah. Now, If you don't mind me asking, what year was this?
Uh, which bit?
Joined up.
1993.
Okay, so 93, mate. We are the same. We are pretty well the same vintage. I finished high school in 92, so it must have been about the same time.
Yeah. Yep.
What platforms were you on, or ships?
Oh, so I served on all of the guided missile frigates that were in WA. So I was pretty lucky, and I think it's the virtue of the fact because I was a missile and gun fire controlman. I wouldn't exactly call myself a princess. We worked pretty hard, but we were given a little bit of leeway as to where we served because they wanted to retain us because there were so few of us. So I served on HMAS Adelaide, Darwin, and Canberra multiple times on each of those vessels. They were guided missile frigates, and I think my last sea posting was on HMAS Toowoomba, which was one of the Anzac class.
Got it. So, mate, this you mentioned that there wasn't many of you. This is obviously the primary weapon system of the ship. The reason the ship exists.
Well, bingo. I mean, there's so many people miss that exact point, right? So, sure, there's a whole bunch of other really important functions on a ship. But at the end of the day, when you're in a war zone, why are you there? You're there to put a weapon system on point, and that's what our job. And that was the unfortunate. Well, I wouldn't say unfortunate. Part of the reason why people didn't like being in a fire control billet was, you worked and you operate. So all the other technical branches, all they did was maintenance. They didn't really operate. So when we went into defence watches at sea, my team, me included, when I was a leading seaman, which I think is corporal in the army. We were all manning stations and we were manning the fire control system, operating, watching that little screen go around and watching the blips come in and shoot missiles and guns and all that sort of stuff. All the other technical branches, this is where the greenies is what we were called, ETs in the Navy. Yep. They were all sitting down in the cafe sucking brews.
Just
having a coffee, eating chips, playing cards.
Waiting for the exercise to be over.
Yeah, doing their war fighting from a distance.
Well, one of the things I'm always fascinated about, is warfare at sea, and what's that like? Because again, and I'm so blinkered by my own individual experience within the Green, but war fighting as a soldier, everyone, and like I'm not a combat soldier, so I'm speaking out the side of my mouth here, but no, I got a rifle, I get to shoot it, I get to defend myself or attack the position, but on a ship, I just feel like it's such a different game to play. You're miles from nowhere. The cost if something goes wrong is, well, if it sinks, you're a shot dark. But the teamwork that gets involved with, hitting a target or defending a missile coming in, it's just a massive head fuck for me how it works. War fighting at sea, and it's been one of the oldest ways that people have done it ever since we've got boats. We'll throw rocks at each other from one boat to the other boat, but the teamwork involved, it just must be incredible.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of trust, and so we, from a fire control perspective, we've got to trust that the the operations room team, that's all of the people involved that they're designating the targets, whether it's the gunnery officer, the directions officer, they're the ones who actually send the engagements to the fire control team. So once it's on my desk, for example. That's it.
Do you press the button?
Yeah, that's what we used to do. Shoot missiles, shoot guns, the whole box and dice.
Got it.
So when the target comes to me, it doesn't matter what it is. I've either got the Harpoon weapon system to shoot long range surface to surface missiles, or I've got the surface to air missiles, or I've got surface to surface, a bunch of things. The close in weapon system, the phalanx system. Yep. There was a few other bits and pieces that we had on the ships depending on where we were in the world. But all of that, the whole everything fire control, once it was on my desk, that's it. It was getting shot. So I didn't have to worry about the rest of it. I just worried about shooting it. And I actually had, and again, I'm not going to mention her name. I had one young lass that was in my team, and we were working up to go operational, and she didn't do real well with the being at sea thing. She got seasick all the time and so on. And I'm not having a go at her, but she did turn to me one day, and because the senior person would sit on the very right of it, because I was in control of everything, and then I'd have the most junior person sitting next to me, so I could lean over and do their job at the same time.
Yep.
And then I had the more senior guy off to the side, or girl. So they were arguably working by themselves. But this young lady, she was sitting next to me, and she turned to me in the middle of this exercise, and she said to me, "Aaron, if there's an incoming aircraft and they're shooting us, would you shoot back?" And I said, "Yeah."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not even this is not even a conversation I'm having.
Yeah.
And she said, "I wouldn't." And I said, "Right, hold that thought." Right. So I waited for the end of the exercise.
You can't be
And I
this
told my
job.
boss, and I said, I can't have that. That's not in my nature. She needs to go."
Yeah.
And
look,
she left the next day.
It's something, I guess,
Whether she gamed the system or not, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not having that under me. That's
not that hesitation when, because, again, I just want to, if you don't mind me just indulging a little bit about warfare operations at sea. So I guess the captain, it would, and again, I'm reflecting my Army experience here, the OPSO or the battle team is running the battle, or is the captain running the battle on the ship?
Well, so obviously the skipper's in charge of everything.
In charge, yep.
But the whole thing about, I mean, you would have been through the process of getting a battalion or getting a company or whatever ready to fight a battle, right? You're dealing with tactics, and you're dealing with communications and bringing in air support and all this
Ops
sort of
rooms
stuff.
and different roles, different peoples.
Right. So the skippers, during workups, the skipper's got to make sure the crew and the sea training group do this. They all know what they've got to do, right?
Yep.
So it's funny, civvy people, they don't understand the level of training that we do, so that it's automatic. You don't even think about it, right? So the officer of the watch and the people on the bridge, they're driving the ship.
Yep.
You know, the gunnery officer or the principal warfare officer in the ops room, he's fighting the fight. That is the battle, right? And obviously the skipper's there and the XO and so on, they're all doing their bits and pieces. The guy up on the bridge, he's making sure we don't crash into anything. The PWO, he's trying to put the ship in the right position so that the weapon arcs of our missiles and guns are clear, so we can make the engagement. And the gunnery officer's sending me all the engagements. So all those other guys, all those other positions, they do their job. It comes on my desk, I shoot it.
And that's what I mean. Like, they're just the teamwork of getting down to that individual role.
Yeah.
On the ship itself, I don't know, do you see anything? Are you in a little cocoon down below somewhere, or can you look out and see the thing shoot off?
No. I mean, obviously there's cameras, but when you're in the ops room, you're in the ops room. It's dark, except for all the bits and pieces that are blipping and the screens going around and around. The people on the uppers, yeah, sure, they can see it, which is slightly different to the submariners. They don't see the light of day for 3 months. I don't know how they do that. That's they're a different breed, that lot.
Well, mate, thanks for sharing a bit about the role. Do you mind sharing anything about operational deployments or time at sea? Did you, like ships sail? That's what they're there for. Did you get much time away?
Yeah, I did. So again, this is not me whinging about it. I really enjoyed the job. Like I loved the job. Not so much the yes sir, no sir stuff. Didn't really go for that, but the technical side of the job and the challenge of prosecuting targets and stuff, that was really, really fun. But I did, in the 16 years I was in the Navy, I did 2 years of training at Nirimba. I did a year in America doing the fire control system courses. So that's 3. So now I'm down to 13. Of that other 13 years, I did more than 11 and a half on ships.
Whoa. You have a family at the time?
Hey?
Did you have a family at the time?
Well, this is the reason I got out.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not crying about this. When I came home from a deployment in Iraq, and one of my kids, my eldest boy, because I didn't have a youngest one then, he didn't know who I was. So, and I don't blame him for that. That's on me. And I changed my career as a result.
But again, this is the a boutique role, limited numbers. You're a key part of that capability. Ship needs its capabilities to sail.
Yeah, so there was at one point when I was in the Navy, so there were 6 guided missile frigates. So there was leading seaman, there was 3 billets on each ship, so 6 times 3, 18. There was 1 petty officer and 1 chief petty officer, so there was 6 billets for POs and 6 billets for chiefs. PO being sergeant, and there was one point when there was only 4 seaworthy petty officers.
Yeah, right. Jeez.
So I came in to Coburn Sound, and whilst everybody else did a high five to the ship, at least once or twice in my career, I hopped on that other ship and went the other way.
6 months again.
And that's
or
shit.
whatever.
Oh no,
3
not
months,
6
6
months.
months.
No, I didn't. I never did that one. 6 months back to back.
Yeah.
No, my bank balance is sufficient at that point for me to just see you later. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, mate. I know you did a couple of trips during the Gulf War campaign. What was the ship's role in those situations?
So we, the first time I went up there was on HMAS Adelaide in 2004, and then the second time, which was I literally walked off this ship and out of the military, was in 2007. So that was on HMAS Toowoomba. So what the ship's roles were was to protect the Iraqi oil terminals, and I mean, sounds pretty. It's actually one of the young guys said this to me when we were up there. He said, "Geez, it's boring out here," and I said, "Mate, let's just have a think about what the alternative is. We're in a bloody war zone. You know, you don't want it to be exciting. I'll take boring every day of the week."
Right.
So yeah, we protected the oil terminals, and we our boarding teams, which I was a part of, we would board other vessels to ensure they weren't carrying contraband, be whatever that may be, weapons, guns, oil, or whatever the contraband was identified as. Then that's what we were looking for.
But we did have the USS Cole, I believe, would have been a few years before that. But there is, like as you said, this is a war zone, and there's active threats all the time.
Like when we got on station, pretty confident this was HMAS Adelaide. I always get them mixed up, but I'm pretty sure it was Adelaide. We just before we got there, like 3 weeks before we got on station, and I think we relieved HMAS Arunta. I could be wrong. Arunta, or whichever ship it was, they were supposed to do a boarding of this dhow, and it was determined that it was too far away for the rib to get to, and obviously the main fleet unit had too big a draft. It was pretty shallow waters, so they as they were the commander, they sent USS Firebolt to the vessel.
Yep.
Turned out to be a suicide dhow, and they blew that boarding team up. And this was just before we got on station, so we took over from that other vessel 3 weeks later. And it's not. I don't know how other people respond or react to that active sort of environment. The training helps, and I didn't really think about it too much. Even when I was on the motor vessel shams issue that we had with the IRGCN, that's where that was a pretty interesting afternoon, that one. And
sorry, mate. What's IRGCN?
It's an Iranian Coast Guard Navy.
Okay. Yeah.
So with all that Iranian stuff going on at the moment, so I'm particularly going to enjoy when they get blown up, but we'll leave that there. So when we were on that motor vessel shams, there was a whole bunch of IRGCN speedboats, and there was no way our ribs were outrunning them. And we were on this grounded vessel, exercising our right to board it, because it was in the contested international waters. So I stand to be corrected, but I think international law considers 12 nautical miles from the high tide mark out to be your territorial waters before international waters takes over, and the Iranians say it's the low water mark, and because at that particular location, the low water mark and the high water mark were really, really different. There was a couple of miles difference between the two, and this motor vessel shams had run aground somewhere in that grey zone, and so it was high tide when we went there, and they ended up surrounding us and chased our ribs off, and we had to get helicoptered off, which was, I think that was the most stressful part of that, was when we were getting winched. Well, I was the third last person on the vessel. There was only the comms and the IC Andrew left on there, and we were sitting ducks. And they had shoulder launched RPGs, pod launched. They had everything. We had freaking handguns.
And it's one thing to say, it's one thing for the captain or whoever, higher headquarters or JDF 63X, whatever it is, to say, hey, we've got the right to be on this ship, lads. Let's send 20 of yous over there and sit in it. It's a different
I'm
thing
pretty
when
sure it
you're
was
at the
Johnny
other
Howard
end.
was the PM. He pulled us out of the coalition because the US wouldn't help us get off that vessel. They wouldn't touch the Iranians. So the PM pulled Australia out of the coalition for a short period of time in order to recover us.
Mate, how's that?
That was
Well,
pretty hectic.
I always say you've got to earn your stories, mate. You can't have somebody else's stories. You can only earn your own ones by being there. So, mate, I just want to recognise that and appreciate your service. And but there comes a time for a change, and that came change. Family first, which is a very natural thing for all of us. What to next for you? Because were you a tradie or an engineer?
Yeah, I was
by this time?
a radio fitter mechanic, as I think was the technical trade. So that didn't directly correlate into any recognised civilian trade. Like at the time, I think the Navy or the military in general was starting to get really wise to the fact that overtraining was putting too big a financial burden on the military, and it also provided pathways for people to get out relatively easily.
Don't qual you up just in case you get out.
Exactly, you had to do that yourself. But the thing is, when my son said that to me, I don't blame him. That's on me, and that's the one thing I pat myself on the back about is I'm an engineer now, and I know I'm not a dummy. Probably in some ways I am, but technically I'm not. And I always the only one thing I pat myself on the back about is I said to myself at the time is right, own it, do something about it, and get yourself into a position from a qualifications perspective where civil industry can't say no.
Yeah.
And so I started the path on my electrical engineering degree. Pretty much from that point, like straight away, I started looking like instantly.
This is clever now, mate. If you don't mind me asking, and I'll move on. But how old was your young fella when this happened?
He couldn't talk when I left, and he could when I got back. So pretty young.
Yeah, mate. Okay, time for a change. What'd you get into next? Oil and gas.
Yeah, so I was still doing the engineering degree when I got out, but I was this is a bit smart the way I did it. When I was doing a little bit of study in the Navy, I got a year full time, and that had I said 3.
Yep.
Right, there's my 4th. So I did a year's full time study, paid for, which was great. And I did a diploma in electrical, diploma in electronic, and advanced diploma in electrical, all in 1 year. I did it actually in 6 months because I worked my butt off. And then in the back end of that, I got permission to do work in industry. And I went and worked for Worley Parsons, which was a big, at the time, like when I got out a few years later, they were still considered, Western Australia, Worley Parsons was still considered the preeminent oil and gas engineering company in the world, right? So they were top shelf, which turned out to be pretty good. So I worked with them for about 3 months, and when they took me on board, they just said, we've got to pay you. And I said, look, mate, I've got a full-time job with the Navy. I don't need money. Right, I'm not here for the money. It's not interested. Like, if you can get away without paying me, don't pay me, don't care. Right? They ended up paying me $50 an hour, so I wasn't spitting at that.
That's all right.
Yeah, I was pretty happy. And they gave me some really, really boring things to start with, just to probably see where I was at. And actually, a couple of junior engineers said to me, look, 2 of them, a lady and a guy, they said, geez, you're in the engineering pathway, eh? Why are you putting up with this stuff? And I was just doing filing for explosive hazardous area doses. Turns out to be pretty, looking where I am now and part of the story that I'm on.
Yeah, we'll segue to that.
Yeah, we will, won't we? Turned out to be just the right thing, right? So I had that history with it, and they said, why are you doing that? Aren't those guys, why aren't the designers doing it? And I said, well, that dude there's on $75 an hour. He's on $65 an hour. I'm on 50. I don't care. I'm just trying to get some experience in the industry. And
team player, or just
and I said to him, look, I could bitch and moan, like a champion if I wanted to, but it's not going to get me what I want. Yeah. I said, I guarantee you, either the next job or the one after that is going to be a ball terror, and I'm going to be stoked. And they're like, I wouldn't put up with it. So what did I get? I ended up doing the entire power system protection study for the Rock Oil onshore offshore project,
which is just what you wanted.
Oh God! It was amazing. This is something that you give really experienced electrical engineers. They knew I had no clue what I was doing when I did it, but they gave me a book. I'm surprised I don't have it here. I probably do. It's over there. Yeah, it's over there. It's about that thick. I read that on the train in every day, on the way in, on the way home. I read it cover to cover within 2 weeks, and then I did this power system protection study, and it took me another 3 weeks after that. And I ended up getting phone calls from the commissioning engineer about why I'd set some protection setting like this, because they had another senior engineer do it. As I said, it probably would have gone. Oh, and I wasn't stupid. I knew that somebody else was doing it as well, but they ended up using mine.
And I had never done the attention to detail that, like, actually.
I just wanted to make sure I got everything right. Everything.
Nailed it.
Yeah, and that was. I mean, it probably sounds boring to some people, but I really, really, really enjoyed it. Like, I can't. It was so much fun. And then when I left, when I had to go back to my normal job, being in the military, the engineering manager, he gave me a card, and he said, "You ring this number when you're ready.
We want you back here.
Just ring this number, and you'll have a job."
Yeah.
And because he said that you're not technically the best person, and I suppose you don't expect to be. And I said, "No, absolutely not. I haven't got my degree yet." He said, "You've got something that I can't buy, and you're just keen as mustard. You want to have a crack, and you work well with a team. You didn't complain once, and that gave me my entry into civvy life."
So did you go back to him afterwards, or go somewhere else?
I worked for him for 3 years afterwards.
Oh, brilliant! How's that, Serendipitous moments. I
was
love
my
these
first job.
sliding doors moments that just open up. We take our chance, we grab it by the balls, and then away we go. Something else will pop up later.
Yeah, exactly.
Mate, I want to come to Imperium now, with the best tagline in business that I've seen yet: absolute power.
That's what it stands for.
Nice and simple. Absolute power. That's what you do, mate. Tell us about Imperium Engineering.
So I started Imperium Engineering with my business partner, Greg Rossiter, in October 2018. After we'd run several other businesses together. I got out of the Navy in 2007, and I didn't start running my own companies until about 2013, 2012, something like that. And yeah, we had another business partner in that other entity, and as happens in business, it's like being married. You have to trust your business partner. He's going to do the right thing. And funny enough, there's a fellow I just started a truffle business with, one of the guys I met just before I joined the Navy, way back in 2007, and got him into the truffle business, and I've started another business with him. But getting back to Imperium, so Greg and I started that in October, and we work really, really well together. Greg is a completely different person to me, and I mean that in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the fluff on his face. He's a pretty boy. I've got no illusions about that. And he's just, I'm Mr. 95%. I'll get something to 95% done, but I'll do it really quick.
Yeah.
And he'll spend the same amount of time doing the last 5%.
Mate, this sounds exactly like me and Matt, my business partner. And I've got to admit, and I wouldn't say this to Matt's face, and I'd never give him any accolades that his ears would listen to, and he'd never listen to this podcast anyway, to be honest. But without him as a business partner, I wouldn't be able to succeed in it, because I'm exactly like you. Not as detailed or technical in the slightest, but I just have trouble finishing stuff off. And then Matt's the ultimate details guy. Something came up today about money, just with another part of, and I just texted the dude back. I'm saying, talk to Matt. That's not me. He look, but the trust that we have in our business, we're lucky that we're Dunter and classmates. It is a 1 + 1 = 5 kind of equation in terms of what we can achieve together.
Absolutely have to have it.
And I don't know how people do it by themselves, mate. To shout out to all the solo people out there that are kicking goals, but mate, I don't have enough time to do my half of the stuff, let alone do everything.
So with the veteran business community, have you noticed that? I'm genuinely interested in the answer to this. Yep. Is that there's always a business partner with veterans, because we like teams?
Yeah, look, it's for
me.
Is
that a common thread?
Well, to be honest, I don't know. I'll have to start making more inquiries out of it. I think there is a much more desire to work in a team, and there's a lot more desire to trust. I believe that straight up.
Yeah.
But to be honest, mate, I'll have a bit more of a sniff around and get some data. Because
Yeah,
wouldn't
'cause
that be an
I mean,
amazing statistic?
Yeah, it would be, and I can't imagine, doing a business without a business partner.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like you. There's just so much to do, and I think maybe some businesses would lend itself to that, but the majority don't.
And like the example with me and Matt is we've got another company that we started and we built it up. We managed to get a CEO, a very clever CEO. So he runs that entirely now. We've both been able to exit that business. Matt is running another business that I'm involved with, but he looks after the money and the income, which provides me the ability to do this full time. And so this is just the collective of us building things together. God, I hate to say it, mate, but he is pretty as well. I don't know what the thing is, the yin and the yang.
You got to have one, don't you?
You got to have one, mate. I don't know. I should just have my voice, but his head on this podcast, mate. I'll probably get 3 more viewers.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, Imperium. So, what do you guys do?
So we've just made the decision to move into construction as well as do the engineering. So we do electrical instrumentation and control engineering, and as I said to you in my little blurb, was if it's got an electron in it, we'll do it. With the caveat that our experience really is 33 kV and below. So whether it's transformers, transmission lines, not transmission, distribution lines, big switchgear, big variable speed drives, anything from 33,000 volts down to 5 volts, we're onto it. So we'll do, as I said, the power system protection studies, short circuit studies, earthing studies, all of it. And that was actually one of the things that I got really excited about when I was doing that full year time study. I did my first short circuit calc, and it came out at 56,000 amps. I did the calc 3 times, and I looked at it and I was like, well, because you've got to understand on radars, I'm dealing with microvolts and nanoamps, right?
Yep.
Like proper small stuff, like a sparrow's fart of 1,000
signature
sort of thing, right? So now I'm dealing with 56,000 amps as the fault. And I did the maths 3 times, and I said to the lecturer, I said, that can't be right. And he's like, yeah, no, that's about right. And that right then, I was hooked. And because I was just dealing with just monstrous numbers.
The power, the absolute power. I love it, mate.
Bingo.
Hey, just for a layman, was it 34,000 you just mentioned then?
56,000.
56. How much goes through a power line out the front of my house here?
Well, that's MVA, so depending on the voltage. So as the voltage goes up, you can transport more power with less current.
Yep.
It's just a formula. It's pretty simple.
Yep.
Everybody gets it wrong except electrical engineers. They put the root 3 in the wrong spot. So depending on the voltage level, depends on how much. But the big ones, like the ones on the metal towers, they're typically either 66 kV or 132 kV. Right, so
56 is a lot. Sorry, 54 is a lot.
That's a lot of volts, but depending on how thick the cable is, like the cables will typically be about that round, and that's a big
thick,
cable. You can run a lot of current down that.
Yeah.
So it's more about megavolt amps at that point, MVA. So a big coal-fired power station would be 500 megawatts, maybe a gigawatt. Certainly. No, nuclear power stations, a small nuclear power station would be not like 9 gigawatts, but that's a lot of juice. That's a lot. But so outside on the street depends on how big the poles are and how big the cables are.
Yep.
You could have 100 MVA running past your street, and depending on how long the transmission line is, the closer you are to a substation, the bigger the fault current's going to be.
Yep.
And I'll always tell people either. If there's a down power line, either keep your feet on the ground and shuffle them, never lift them, or hop away, directly away from the power lines.
So shuffle or hop?
Yeah, shuffle or hop. Because the thing is, and this is like, let me do it on the screen here. One of the things that not every electrical engineer is competent with earthing design. It's one of the things I really concentrated on at the beginning because I figured that it was the one that I could have the most meaningful impact to my the company I work for, right? So I did a lot of work on it. So if you look at my first hand and my second hand over,
Yep.
you're right. So there's a gap between my hands.
Yeah,
right?
it's like a front foot, back foot for anyone
Back foot, front
listening.
foot. And when current travels through the Earth's got a resistance. So then you get voltage contours on the Earth. This is why cattle die in a lightning storm. It's called a step potential. So the greater the distance between your feet and the greater the voltage contour means there's a path through your heart.
It might go up and down again rather than just
right. And so now you get a defibrillating current through your heart. So and it's a lot of people think earthing's a black art. I think it's pretty simple, but so shuffle or hop.
Mate, I love the power geek in you, mate. So
I'm definitely a nerd, right? Like total.
Mate, with Imperium, as much as I know about engineering companies, which is not a lot, you've got a lot of design, you've got a lot of theory and that kind of pre-stage development versus people that are actually hands-on doing stuff. Which of those two does Imperium lean towards? You doing it all? Yeah,
well, see, the funny thing was, like, I've been, I am an engineering manager. I literally just finished project managing a large crushing project from an electrical perspective, but also a commissioning manager because my background as a technician. So one of the things I really struggle with in business is keeping my hands out of it and actually managing, because I know there's nothing I can't fix, right? If you give me a drawing, give me a description of how it's going to work, I'll fix it.
Okay, my head can unpack the solution.
Yeah, because it's all the same. It's just you just got to have the drawing. And so Imperium, we will say that, and we do say, we provide complete turnkey solutions where you want to really experienced engineer at the beginning of a project in order to make smart decisions. Smart decisions, and I always say this, in concept and pre-concept or case study, 1, 10, 100, 1,000. If you read any of my posts on LinkedIn, I've actually been explaining this. So $1 good spent in conceptual engineering is worth $10 in front-end engineering, or detailed engineering is worth $100 in construction, and it's $1,000 in commissioning. Because if you make the wrong decision here, like at the beginning, then the decision at the back end, in order to fix it and make it what it should be, it's going to cost you thousands per $1. So you get that's why senior engineers gravitate to the front of a project, and smart technicians gravitate to the back end. But we employ everybody across that path, and it's a funny thing, because we have that ability to do pick up a design and fix it and then commission it. A lot of the work we get, and my business partner hates me saying this, is we get a lot of cleanup projects because clients know we can fix. It doesn't matter how bad their project is from an electrical perspective.
I can fix it.
We can make it work. And I said that before. We can make anything work. We just like the opportunity to screw it up the first time more.
well, this is where my brother's
he doesn't like that bit.
My brother's a site manager, and he's like, architects kill him. Because he's a tradie, he's done all this stuff, The plans come out and he's just gone, look, it's one thing on paper. It's another thing out here on the field when we're actually trying to build something. But you've come through both sides of it. You've had that technical training, like with your hands-on tools really early, but then you've developed the engineering side of your career afterwards. So you've got the full scope of not only understanding the hands-on tools, but the effect they're trying to achieve with that.
Yeah, and look, I'm biased, but I'm pretty confident. Look, I've only seen, actually, this was a surprise. The best engineers are always engineers who came either from the tools or from some in the field role, right? Because they understand, and I always tell junior engineers, and even senior engineers who haven't done it, you've got to go to site. You've got to go build some of this stuff. And then when you're on site, you've got to try and get in the commissioning team so you can turn it on. So you can see how important it is when you're doing the design in the office, that it's quite important that 48 volt DC system's not connected to the 110 volt DC system, because it's going to go bang.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't get it right on paper, and some, poor guy does the installation per your design, and then somebody switches it on and it goes boom, who's at fault? It's not them. That's you. And so I always tell them, you've got to get out in the field. So if they've started in construction, I tell them, if you want to be on site the rest of your life, great, stay where you are. That'll be fine. But you'll get to a point in seniority where you've got an income stream that you rely on, which if you try to go back to the office, you won't be able to support that because you won't have the technical capability to do the engineering side of it. So it works both ways. But the best engineers, in my experience, are engineers who were tradesmen first. There's one. I thought there was a caveat to this. There was one gentleman. He's since gone on to do a law degree. Really, like, this dude's so smart. It's not funny. I thought he was an engineer that started as, and it turns out he wasn't. He was a tradesman first. I found it out 20 years later. But this guy was amazing.
Mate, I noticed on your service as well, you're getting into software. I'm interested, again, this is, and mate, I'm talking above my intellect level here, but you've come from the pragmatic hands-on side of tools, right?
Yep.
You know, working on tools, making things happen with real life stuff, right? Then you've gone into the design perspective, and you've rounded off that experience of how, you know, the intent, the effect of the design can be actuated by on the project.
Yep.
What software? How have you
So
seen
we
the
fell
big
into
changes
that.
in software? Because this for me is like a whole different, like it's almost like fourth dimension kind of part of that in the last 15 years is infusing control mechanisms and the way that, you know, things work.
Yeah, it's
Am I speaking out of place here? I'm not articulating that well.
No, you're right. Look, we absolutely see that as a differentiator with our business. Like even though we're really good at the electrical and the design, construct, and commission stuff, and we do that, you know, the whole way. We see the software part of our business as a real differentiator. I don't know of any other engineering company that has full stack software development as a part of the core business. But we really fell into that. So let me get back to, you know, when I was started at Worley and I was doing that work experience and I was working on hazardous area verification dossiers. So when I was in the Navy, I used to blow shit up for a living. Great.
Yep.
I had a lot of fun doing it. Now I'm completely the opposite. Even as an electrical engineer, I'm trying not to blow shit up. Hazardous areas hey?
Best not anymore.
Yeah, bingo. Yeah, try to avoid it. But I've got a good experience, good background. So part of that, one of the specialities I've got, and look, there's a lot of people with it, is explosive hazardous area classification and design. Yep. That's you know, methane gas, explosive atmospheres, you know, flammable liquids, flammable gases, combustible dusts, wood chip, all that stuff. Where there's a mixture of either combustible dusts or flammable liquids and gases in a certain proportion that would, if an ignition capable spark was introduced, boom, or the auto ignition temperature was exceeded, and then boom.
Simple formula.
Yeah,
right,
not hard.
Right products, things go back.
There's a fair bit to it, but that's what it comes down to. Yep. So I had a good look at the EHA industry and how there's a bunch of standards, NZS 60079, that whole suite of standards, and then AS3000 calls those up, where there's the responsibility for an asset operator to maintain a hazardous area verification dossier. Again, now we're full circle. Now, my experience in that industry is that the industry wasn't done, and I still form the opinion that it's very poorly done. You know, perhaps the big oil and gas companies, they sort of do it right. Even then, I've found a lot of them think they know what they're doing, but they don't. They engage consultants like us. Yep. Sure, some of them got good teams, but they still don't manage the data very well. So at the end of that,
this is where the software piece of it.
Yeah, hold on. I'm getting there. So I came up with the idea to create a software package which manages the entire life cycle. You know, building on what Imperium does as an engineering, design and construct firm, building on that, an entire life cycle for explosive hazardous areas all in one spot. And so we created the software package Total EX, get it? Total EX, explosive. And it's we call it the live HAVD, or the single source of truth. So we do all of the engineering inside Total EX, do all of the we don't build it, but we record when things are built, and then we do all of the compliance inspections. And, pretty much at the moment, every project I've got is all EHA. And most of them are getting done through Totally X. So in developing this software, I went to a mate of mine because you can imagine software people don't do construction, right? And I've got like an absolute quintessential team here. One of the guys is he's on the spectrum, can't really communicate really well, but he can really talk to all the other software people.
Yep.
And then I've got one of the guys, our software manager, Reese. He's really the go-between between me and them. I don't pretend to know the ones and zeros and their coding. It all looks like matrix stuff to me, but they do that. So when we started the software, I got another company to start it, and then I don't want to talk about this too much because I'm still burned by it. They went in. They didn't just go into administration; they went to liquidation.
Yep.
And I didn't have any code. I had nothing, and I'd spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had nothing. And this happened on the 15th of December, a couple of years ago. So I went into what's my disaster recovery strategy here, whilst I was having Christmas, and I decided to offer Reese, who's the software manager, and all of the developers that were responsible for developing Totally X with that company, contracts direct.
Yep.
So I grabbed them, and I was told they were expensive. Actually, I'm not going to say I laughed, but it's less than what I pay others. I pay them more now. Grabbed them and got them on my books, and now all of a sudden I'm a software company. And they brought a couple of the software clients with them. One of those being Crime Stoppers WA. And now we're a software company as well as engineering, and we're developing our own software package in-house.
I just find that I don't know whether it was intuitive or some way that, like, I don't want to mean like foresight, see the future, that kind of stuff, but the ability to be able to complete the missing piece of software, and to be able to understand not only the user perspective of what you're designing. Okay, so yes, you've got to design something, okay, and yes, you've got to build something, but understanding the user interface with that and putting the software component through the back of it as well. It's just not something I've seen or heard of many engineering companies think about. They're good at either doing this, and not only that out of those three things, there might be three separate things, not really doing them all at once so that they can understand what the customer needs and deliver an end-to-end solution.
So I don't think we've really gotten to the bottom, like integrated it fully, like as much as we could.
Yep.
We are in the process of doing that. Like we're developing integrated systems with software and so on, and we're actually looking at integrating. Some of these guys are like amazing with AI. So we're integrating the AI components of it to the engineering and design side, so that we can really. So we looked at a lot of the big companies, actually, like the big miners, for example, without naming any of them. They've actually got it stipulated, and this grinds my gears, something shocking, but they've got stipulated in the contracts they put out for their big jobs that you must have 70% offshore, low cost, high value, yada yada, which means Philippines, India, China, whatever, right? Now, we're a small company. We could try and jump on that train, but be 10 years behind them because they've already got these things set up. Or we could leverage our software guys and integrate AI into our design, right? And get AI to, turbocharge our design drawings and our ability to develop deliverables and so on. So that's what we're doing at the moment. We're in the process of integrating our software guys with our engineering and design team so that we can bulk produce deliverables with all the right connections, this voltage, that voltage, and so on and so forth. That's what we're doing right now.
And from a data or a sensory perspective, having that full suite of design construction software, are you now ahead of like, for example, IoT or Internet of Things or different ways that, remote sensors can start looking at drawing that data out? Is this where you're starting to get those advantages?
Well, that's where that's where we're going. Yeah. So you're exactly right. Like we are travelling down that path where we will be, even given the size of our business, we will be able to compete very well with significantly larger companies.
I love it. And you know what I love the most about this? One of the things I'm on a bit of a mission about at the moment is to really spread the word about the capability of veteran-owned businesses out there. And yes, we have lots of small businesses, and we love those. We love everyone, no matter what they do. If you're doing candlestick making or mowing lawns, and you love that, that's fantastic. Okay, but there are some businesses of significant maturity, sophistication, capability out there. And I quite often, even though I'm in this space every day meeting veteran business owners, I'm like, man, I just love hearing stories of these, cutting edge solutions, world class, delivering serious outcomes to people, to serious capability.
It's a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
And it is. I mean, you're in an interesting position where you get to see, lots of different examples of it. Our Totally X software, I know for a fact, I mean, we've got a patent on it since 2019. I know it's the only software globally that I can literally take. So Wheatstone, for example, I happen to be the only degree qualified lead engineer they had for EHA at Wheatstone.
Yep.
During construction. I know exactly what the tag count is. I'm not going to say the exact number, but I'm going to say 50,000 tags, right?
Yep.
So 50,000 instruments, be it a temperature transmitter, a motor, a junction box, pressure transmitter, flow transmitter, whatever, in an explosive hazardous area. I can import in Totally X, and I can do a complete compliance check on 50,000 tags, right, that each have 60 fields of data. I can do that compliance check in a minute, and I can tell you exactly which tag is non-compliant and exactly how it's non-compliant.
But this is where the software, this is where the software component of this
100%.
And the AI and the learning platform, that this platform is only ever going to get better and better and better the more it learns about itself.
It's already ridiculous. And we've got the software guys, I mean, they're not even 10 metres from me. They're out there, and we're actually just releasing a dashboard update this week, which is, I'm loving it. It looks fantastic. Yeah. And I love working in it. It might be my brainchild, but I really, really enjoy it. But the thing is, for those big oil and gas companies, I might have just slammed them a little bit earlier, call that petulant if you like. But the software for them, let's talk about 120,000 tag site, because I know they're out there, 200,000. At that point, it's so big, it's not possible to manage that in a spreadsheet, right?
The governance of itself is
right?
self-combusting.
So you can't find where you're failing, right? But my software can. So for a big oil and gas company, my software is, I will find the needle in the haystack. You won't even know it's there, and I'll find it. I'll probably find 100 of them, and I'll tell you exactly how it fails, and then you can go off and fix it. But there's other companies like, again, I'm hesitant to mention business names because not all of them want to be, on social media. So we've got a major mining client that has changed all of their internal systems to Totally X.
Yep.
Because they can see it's not their core business. With an oil and gas company, their process is a flammable liquid or vapor, right? That's just what they do. It's
literally their product.
That's their business, right? Whereas for a mining company, it's not their core business. The first time I presented at the EHA conference in Perth, my topic was EHA in the mining environment. Getting it out there, letting people know this stuff is in your plant and you need to do something about it. So for a mining company, it's like a Panadol. Please take the pain away, because they don't know what they don't know. So now I've given them a platform which is an entire life cycle piece for your classification, for your engineering, for your construction, for your inspection and your operation. And it will tell you when you're non-compliant. And all of the miners that I show it to pretty much fall off their chair. Now, the only problem I've got at that point is getting it past the bean counters. Yeah. Now, that part of it, look, for me, it's a relatively easy conversation because I can tell them how much money they're going to save. I can quantify it really, really easily. And just that uploading format. One client I was on site 2 weeks ago, I said to them, I'll give you a challenge. How about you challenge me? Give me your tag data, and I guarantee you by the end of the day, I'll tell you what's wrong with it. Yeah. So I sent their tag data back to the office. Said, Reece, it's call it 5,000 tags, for example. And I said, look, I just want to give these guys a taste. Do 600 tags. Within an hour, I had a complete audit of their 600 tags. Told them that 527 of them failed, and here's how they failed. Mate, and their EHA team just looked at me and I went, what? Which part of this don't you understand? And then I showed them in minute detail. It's that powerful. It's crazy. And to be honest, if the data are aligned, that many tags would have been less than a second.
But I tell you that 1, 10, 100,000 in terms of investment, you get something go bang on a mine site, and not only not only doing the wrong thing by something like work health and safety and someone getting hurt, but the mine site shutting down and the production and the flow on.
Production loss, all of it. It's just not worth it, right? So, and you know how much we sell a license for? One license for a year is $1,200.
Man, yeah,
it's crazy.
Mate,
I'm just trying to get it out.
You're going to go through some investment rounds here or what?
Yeah, it hasn't been cheap. I can tell you that for free.
I can imagine, mate. We've only known each other for a week. You rocked up to an info session, and I just got caught up by the kind of capabilities that you're doing. I love your story because it is the personification of a lot of the things that we, preach from the hills here at VBC. That the kind of people behind the businesses that take this really, not only the definitive training that comes from the military, but the character, the commitment, the attention to detail, this kind of good organisation skills that we have, and then we go out there and we create businesses from them. That for me is our point of difference, and I'm a single issue zealot on this stuff. This is why I believe that government and corporate should actively support veteran procurement, not because we need a handout, not because you're throwing us a bone, but because we are a catalyst of great people that can still keep serving, still keep contributing to the nation and the community by being great business owners.
I totally agree with you, Pete. I really do. Like we've been a registered veteran-owned business, and obviously we talked to you, I think first time a year ago when we got involved with VBC. We've got nothing. It's come up on I think 3 tenders that are you a veteran-owned business, right? 3 tenders in there was a few years that we've been doing it, and it really hasn't had any gravitas or any impetus for propelling the business. But I've always said that a bad Navy technician was a good civvy technician. I've never been wrong. And not everybody in the military that gets out is a world beater or exceptional, but the majority of them got the right mindset to really excel in civvy street and in business. And I think what you're doing is is great in terms of getting that word out there and saying, we've got a whole cohort of these people who are now business owners, and they've got the right attitude. Like one of the things I'm really proud about my business is that our commitment to Crime Stoppers WA and the Safe to Say software platform that we developed and maintain, that has. Now I'm not going to go through.
Mate. Don't gloss over that. Don't gloss over it. Quickly plug what the software does.
It's a 2-way anonymous reporting platform called Safe to Say. So we've got a very close relationship with Crime Stoppers WA and Vince Hughes is their CEO, and it's launched into the WA Police Force, and it's now just about to go across Australia. It's also in a bunch of corporates because there's a requirement from ASIC to have a reporting platform when you launch and so on. Anyhow, it's really, really clever. I'll take no ownership of this. The guys out there are just pretty smart people. So we use the Tor network for it to be a 2-way anonymous reporting site. So the person who is making the report, anonymous, it goes to a police person. That's in the police instance of it. For the mining companies and the other corporates, they've got their own internal people, not the police. And so then they start a conversation. The person at the receiving end doesn't know who it is, and the person sending in doesn't either. And then, like one of the other clever things, they have that conversation, and then we've got the ability for that police instance to then convert that into a transcript that can be used in a court. But it's only when the person who's anonymous that's reporting it wants that to happen.
Yeah.
And then, again, I can't speak for the sex crimes unit, but I know when they deployed Safe to Say in that unit, it went nuts. Like in terms of it's sort of horrible,
people safe
but
space.
great.
It's
what
horrible,
it says. But great that they got significantly more reporting and they got significantly more convictions. Yeah. It's horrible the fact that stuff was happening and unreported, but it's great that now there's a mechanism by which they can. So there's companies out there that speak ESG, they greenwash and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, as you'd expect, veterans, we're talking it and we're living it, we're doing it,
Yeah.
and we love the fact that we're involved with them.
Now, I would love a point of preference, to be honest. If we had a demand-driven procurement policy or procurement initiatives that give us a seat at the table, I'll take that. But ultimately, you know, where we want is us to be a point of difference, you know, and that is the people behind those businesses. And as we push this veteran-owned as a brand in its own rights, you know, we want to push this as a quality brand. This is not a handout. Don't pat us on the head. I don't want it to be too facetious here. It's not about saying thank you for your service at all. It's respecting or acknowledging the service and the kind of person that service brought out of you. You know, and it's the kind of things that you went through by serving, or even maybe it's just the initial character of the person who joins.
Pete. I think for the most part, ex-military people, they have a way of thinking. Now, obviously, I can't speak for everybody. You know, and you know, early is on time and on time is late, right? Like you know, the only time I'm late is when one of my kids is in the hospital or my wife. And I just can't help it.
It makes my eye twitch. I still.
Yeah, geez, that's the thing. One of the differences between me and Greg, it drives me nuts. Like, just drives me bonkers. But I think it's that that character bit. Ex-military people are, you know, there's just something about us. There's a way that we do business, and I think it's good business, and I think that's what your brand is trying to sell.
That's it, mate. And I'm just sort of having a thought there. It's not even about what we went through in service. It's about the person that you were when you decided to join up, and that there was something about you as a person that decided to serve, that put others before you, that put their life on hold to go join this higher purpose. Then we got in, and then we got taught this stuff during our service, and now we're outside delivering. Mate, just before we wrap, I was a horticulturalist in a past life, you know, did ag college. Mate, I can't get past the truffles, mate. Tell us about the truffles.
So when I joined the Navy, literally just before the first interview, I met this bloke by the name of Damon Borman. He won't mind me saying it. He was the best man at my wedding. You know, I've known him for a long time now. And he's a veteran. I got him into when he got out of the Navy, he got into customs, and then he ended up being the head of the customs dog squad in Perth. Yep. It just so happened that my sister-in-law, there was a connection there with a doctor associated with the truffle industry. We were just at a barbie, and I said to him, because he was saying, I just can't find good truffle dogs, and I said, would customs dogs be any good for that? And he's like, what? So anyhow, he said, I'll give you a case of any wine you want. And he did, which was good. And I introduced him and Damon together. And then, you know, Damon's been in that industry for 25 years now. You know, Damon's, you know, he's a great bloke. Unfortunately, he doesn't have that business side to him. Yep. He's more of that doer, get it done. And look, if you can look him up, he's probably the preeminent truffle guy in Australia. Not just WA. He's the one, he essentially kick-started the industry down in Manjimup. And anyhow, Damon kept getting the raw end of the stick when he was getting engaged by these companies, and he just rang me up, you know, not even a month ago, and he says, Aaron, I know you're in business, you know, you've got to help me out. What can we do? And I said, right, let's do it. So we've started a company called Truffle Solutions Australia. I literally got the ABN this morning, or the ACN, I should say, the ABN's coming.
Serial entrepreneurs, mate. Just for someone who's got all that free time and nothing else going on. No, I'll just go start another business with a mate.
Yeah, bingo. But that's the thing, right? You know, it's I just wanted to help him out because I read a couple of the contracts that he'd been involved in, and I said, mate, you're not going to get what you think out of this until, you know, X amount of time. I said, you can do better than this. I can help you get better. And I said to him, look, I don't even want a piece of the business. I'm not interested, right? I'll just help you. But he's and I'm going to end up having a bit of it, but it's going to be a smaller part because it's not me, it's him. I'm just going to help him review all the contracts, set the structure up, get the tax account sorted, get the bookkeeping, get the contracts, all that stuff. I'll do all the commercial side of it, business, yada yada yada, and I just let him go and make truffles and grow truffles, and then consult around Australia. We've already got contracts around Australia even in that month, and then there was another one in New Zealand this morning that they're looking at using us. So. Because I've got heaps of spare time, so much spare time.
Yeah, there's all that spare time, mate. So basically what you can do is if there are suitable properties and they've got the right kind of trees, or they want to plant the right kind of trees, they can come in and put the truffles under those trees and have another diversify their crop a bit.
Yeah, look, there's a very specific way that you get truffle producing trees. It's and I'm not, look, again, just like the software, I don't know anything about it. I know you've got to inoculate the trees, that's about it.
Yep.
And then at that point, you've just got to give them the right soil conditions and the right, agriculture better than me, the right conditions for them to grow, and then you find them, and then you can geolocate where they are, and they'll pop up every year if you treat them right.
Mate, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, mate, let's wrap it there. What's going on here? We'll do a quick plug of, we'll be in Perth for Land Forces, and we'll have our, I'm going to say veteran-owned pavilion. That might be a bit grand. Pavilion might be a bit big than actually, let's just say, definitely a footprint or presence. But we do have 27 metres of frontage to really put veteran-owned businesses on the map in front of defence industry there. So, mate, we're going to see you there at Land Forces. I'm going to get myself to Perth before then. Come and say good day, and say good day to other VBC members in Perth. But, mate, anything else you want to wrap up or share before we head off?
No, I just thanks for the opportunity to talk to you, Peter. I think what you're doing with the veteran business community is long overdue, and I really appreciate the opportunity to get on here and have a chat.
Oh, well, thanks, mate. Well, it's not about me. It's about the people like you, and it's serious businesses doing. Okay, well, no, we're for everybody. But when I find someone like yourself, who's a serious business owner developing serious capability to government, to corporate, I just love telling those stories because one of my big goals of this year is to shock and surprise people where they're going to be like, oh, mate, I didn't realise a veteran-owned business could do that. And the more of stories I can grab of yours and share it, the more that we can, to be honest, we can be a lighthouse to other people out there. Go, these clowns can do it. Maybe I can have a crack.
Yeah, why can't I? 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so when you come over, you just let me know, and I'll be more than happy to catch up.
We'll do, mate.
And I'll definitely be at the pavilion. I already told you. I just need to talk to Greg, and we'll grab a booth. Get
it stitched up. Well, mate, let's wrap it there. Aaron, thanks for your time, mate. All of Aaron's contact details are down below. Get on and have a look at the website, and get on and have a look at Total X as well. There's serious capabilities that are that the lads have developed, and one of the things I think you'll have noticed is, again, is paternalistic the right term? I don't know, mate. But the pride that you obviously show in your team, I just can't help but think, some of the things that you went through in your service career, the way that you're binding this team together, that you're empowering great people to do great things. And, mate,
that's a really good word, Pete.
Yeah.
Empowering.
I love seeing the sense of pride in your teammate.
The thing is, what I think, and I think military people are good at it, is ownership. You give them ownership, and you let them run with it. And all we've got to do is provide a space for them to do it in, give them the boundaries for them to operate, let them go.
Mate, thanks for sharing your time and your wisdom, and I can't wait to get this one out. So
no worries.
Let's wrap it there. That's another episode of the Veteran Business Community Podcast. Aaron Drew from Imperium and Total X, thank you for your time.
Cheers, mate.
Champion. Thanks all. That'll do. Out.